All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to do a little detective work. We're going to take something that seems super simple, just one single word, and see how it blows the lid off this fascinating system that's been hiding right under our noses. So, let's get into it.
So, let me ask you something. What makes a word, well, basic? Seriously, think about it. When you hear that, what pops into your head? Does it mean it's easy or just really common? Is it the way it sounds or the idea it represents? That's the big question we're tackling.
And to get to the bottom of it, we're going to put one single word under the microscope. Humor. Yep, humor. We're going to start in the most obvious place you can imagine, what looks like just another boring old dictionary entry online.
Okay, so here it is. This comes from the Simple English Wiktionary. It says, humor is ideas that make people laugh, jokes, funny things. I mean, how simple is that? It's so clear, so direct, you read it and you get it, instantly. No fancy words, no confusing stuff, it just makes perfect sense.
And then they give you this example sentence to go with it. It's totally relatable, makes perfect sense, and it shows you exactly what they mean. So, everything seems pretty normal so far, right? Just your standard everyday dictionary page. Nothing to see here. Or is there?
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Seems totally straightforward. But here's where it gets really interesting. If you actually look a little closer at this page, there's this tiny little piece of text that, honestly, changes everything. It's a clue, and it points to a way bigger story. Okay, so this is where our little investigation really kicks off. We're going to ignore the big, obvious definition for a second and look at the fine print. You know, that little detail that pretty much all of us would just scroll right past without a second thought.
And there it is, tucked away on the page, this one little line. It says, humor is on the Basic English 850 list. Now, that's not a definition, right? It's not an example sentence. It's a label, a classification. And believe me, this is the key to cracking this whole thing wide open.
Which naturally leads to the big question, right? You're probably thinking it right now, because I know I was. Basic English 850 list. What on earth is that? Why that specific number, 850? And what does any of this have to do with a simple word like humor?
All right, let's pull on that thread and see what unravels. Because this is not just some random list of words someone threw together. Oh no, it's an entire system. And it was designed for one very specific, very important reason: to make communication crystal clear.
850. That's the number. And you know, when you think about it, the English language has, over 1 million words? So 850. It sounds like nothing, right? But you'd be amazed. The power packed into this small set of words is just incredible.
So what's the story behind this? Well, the Basic English 850 is this super carefully chosen list of core words. It was actually put together way back in the 1930s by a linguist, a guy named C.K. Ogden, and his goal was huge. He wanted to create a simple toolkit for anyone, anywhere, to communicate clearly. The whole idea is that with just these 850 words, you can explain pretty much any complex idea. And here's the kicker. This is the very foundation, the DNA, of that Simple English Wikipedia page we were just looking at.
Okay, so now that we know this, let's go back to our word humor. And suddenly that definition doesn't just feel simple by chance anymore, does it? It feels simple on purpose. It's simple by design. Let's look at that definition one more time. Ideas that make people laugh. Think about the words. Ideas make people laugh. Every single one of those words, they're also on that core 850 list. It's like this perfect self-contained loop of simplicity. It's the system explaining itself, right there on the page. It's brilliant. And it doesn't stop there. The entry even shows us how to use it as a verb. And check it out, it's totally regular. Humor, humors, humored. You don't have to memorize some weird, tricky form, it's predictable. And that's another huge piece of what makes a word basic in this system. It follows the rules. So, okay, we've kind of unraveled the secret of this one little word entry. But why does any of this matter? What's the bigger picture here? Well, it really all comes down to the power of starting with a simple, solid foundation.
Think about it. A system like Basic English does some amazing things. For one, it gives people learning English a starting point that isn't totally overwhelming. It makes his huge language feel more manageable. It also champions getting your point across clearly without a bunch of confusing jargon. And it's the engine behind awesome free resources like the Simple English Wiktionary that help millions of people all over the world.
And that's pretty much the journey we just took, right? We started with what looked like a simple definition for humor, and we ended up uncovering this whole powerful system working quietly in the background. And it's all there for one reason, to make language and knowledge easier for everyone to understand.
But wait, the story isn't quite over. Because if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of that page, you find this. It's kind of surprising. It's not just information. It's an invitation. It's basically saying, hey, this is a work in progress and you can be a part of it. It reminds you that this whole thing is a living project built by a community of people.
And that really brings us to the final idea here. That little invitation isn't just about the word humor, is it? It's about this bigger, collective goal of sharing what we know in a way that's simple and clear. So the question I guess I'll leave you with is this. How can we help build a world with a little more clarity, a little more understanding? Something to think about. Thanks so much for digging into this with me.